offering your bodies as a living sacrifice. This is your true act of worship. You know, what worship is all about is your sacrifice. You know, in the Old Testament, if you study the Old Testament, when God says, come and worship, it talks about God, them taking a sacrifice to Him. Them taking their sacrifice. And in the New Testament, it says that your body is the sacrifice. Why? Because God sent His only begotten Son to this world as a sacrifice. That was His act of worship, to give His only Son to us so that we can be set free. And that's what true theology, that's what true worship is all about. And I just want to challenge us this morning is that take your body and put it on the altar. Put it on the altar. Because when you do that, that is worship. That's what worship is all about. That's what worship contains. That's what worship is supposed to be. It's supposed to be, God, I'm coming to you. I don't care if I might not have the best voice, I might not be the best guitar player, or might not be, this talented musician, but God, I want to give myself to you. And that is why worship, when people talk about worship, what is the first thing that comes to our mind? The first thing that comes to our mind is a band. First thing that comes to some of our minds may be Sheldon Bangar, or maybe Selvam. The first thing that comes to our mind when we talk about worship music and worship and all is music. Right? First thing that comes to our mind about worship is music. Worship is only maybe 0.11% music. So there was this worship leader, and he gets this dream. Okay, he gets this dream, and he in his dream he sees this man, and he's wearing tracksuit. Those guys who our Olympic team has a special tracksuit. So he saw this man with tracksuit, and he saw this man with these rappers nowadays wear these stiff hats. This guy, and it says dope here, and it says all these other things, crazy things on their head. So he saw this man wearing this hat, and he had these headphones on, and somehow, very strangely, somehow in his dream he knew that this was Jesus. Okay, he knew that this was Jesus. Okay, and in his dream, he knows this Jesus, and Jesus says, he takes out his headphones and he says, listen to this. And and this is all in his dream, and then he puts on these headphones and he hears something that he has never heard before. He's hearing sounds. He says, I could see, I finally realized that sound even had color. Like it was like sound was color, sound was feeling, and it was just brilliant. It was amazing, and he was so, like, his hair was standing, and he was like, what is this? And he's in this dream, when Jesus put his headphones on, he says, Jesus, what is this? And Jesus said, this is the sound of heaven. And then the dream ends. Okay, the dream ends. This is the sound of heaven. It's beautiful sound. Amazing sound. Like he's never heard it before. He said in his mind, he says, I don't think there's anywhere in the world that can ever sound like this, because you could feel the color of sound. You could feel, just amazing, fulfillment, and it brought so much peace and strength and passion. And he's like, man, this is amazing. Well, days passed. Months passed, and this worship leader finally had to move from one city to another city, because he was called to be a worship leader of another church there. Okay, so in the US, people pack all their things in a trailer, and then they put their kids in front, and they go on this road trip, because everybody drives there. So he's driving, and he has to move from one state to another state. So he's driving. It's a long drive. And he packs all his things, he packs his kids in, and then he's just driving, and he's driving, and then it starts turning in, a little dark, and so he says, let's grab some food. So they grab some food, they eat, and then they drive again, and suddenly in the middle of the night, it is snowing out there, it's raining, and they're like, oh my God, I hope we manage to get through this. And then suddenly his car breaks down in the middle of the road. Okay, his car breaks down. He has a small baby, and he has 2 other daughters and his wife, and he's trying to start the car, and it's not starting, and he's like, man, it's freezing outside, and tension starts building and he's getting frustrated and angry, and then he goes finally gets the guts to get out, open the bonnet, check what's wrong with the car, and he's getting upset that, man, I can't fix this. Worship leaders are very determined. If they set their minds on something, man, we need to get this done. If I want to, this is how it should sound. If we don't sound, we'll practice till it sounds like that. So he was very determined, I want to get this car fixed, I want to move, and he's getting frustrated and upset and angry. And then to top it all, his wife said, you can't fix it, what's wrong with you, And then his children, his baby starts crying, and he's getting very frustrated, very angry. And then all of a sudden, his daughter starts singing. And they're singing, yes, Jesus loves me. Yes, Jesus loves me. And out of the blue, he just has a flash of the dream he had. He just has a flash of that dream that God had given him. And then he's like, God, why did you give this? And then he could hear, he said, it was like I could hear it. And then he says, God told me this. He says, even though heaven sounds like that, when you choose to worship me, I choose to visit you. When you choose to worship me, I choose to visit you. And he said the presence of God was so tangible in that car, like he had never ever felt it before. He had never felt the presence of God so strong. He had never felt the presence of God so powerful that he felt in that car. It's because he chose to worship him. And it's no matter, I don't know if you're a musician, you're a member, you're just someone who loves to know more about worship. The day you choose, and moments, I believe each one of us experience moments in our lives when we have struck with storms, and when we have struggles in our lives, when we choose to worship him, he chooses to visit us. And that is true worship. That is what worship is all about, is when you say, God, in spite of my circumstances, in spite of my struggles, I sacrifice my agenda. I sacrifice what I want. I sacrifice what I feel is important. And I worship you. And I say, yes, Jesus loves me. And that is true worship.